next bit is a very serious play. It's about 5 minutes, and it's about an old man who wants to talk to other people. It's a very sad story. We did this last week in theatre in Oxford. People liked it. It's very slow and very sad. It's called Uncle George, and Richard will play Uncle George, and Harrod, who's here, will play the flute as a background. So this is called Uncle George, and this is not improvisation. This is with the script that is learned. Uncle George.
I am not well. I am not at all well. I read in the newspaper that it is good to plan for the future and to reflect upon your life. So it is time for me to think of all that has happened in my life. My first relationship, my first marriage. Yes, I have been married several times. School, holidays, my first job. Time to think of all of these things before they disappear from my memory when I die. Because you see, I am dying, and I think of my Uncle Eric. He used to visit my mother and me where we lived in Bournemouth. A fine old gentleman, upstanding, perhaps a bit old-fashioned, what we call a bit of a fossil. I wonder if my nephews and nieces will remember me like that. I had 2 opinions from doctors, and they both said that I was dying. So I thought it was important to hold a family meeting. So I asked my nephews and nieces. They wouldn't all be able to come because some live in other countries, but I asked them to come to where I live in Oxford because I wanted to ask them a very important question. One of them came back to me and said, "Why can't we do it on the phone?" I said, "It's a personal matter. It's a very important personal question. I don't want to do it on the phone." Another one said, "Well, can we do it by email?" I said, "No. It is an important question. Email is difficult. I email you, it goes into spam, you don't know that you've got it. Or if you have received my email, you reply and I don't get it. It's all too complicated." So they came to my small flat in Oxford on a Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock. Sunday's a good day for travelling by car, and they all came by car from Somerset, where they all live, all in one car. Sunday is a bad day in Britain for travelling by train. They arrived at my small flat, which I've lived in for the last 10 years since my wife Madge died, and I asked them to bring some food. That may seem strange. Meals on Wheels, which has given me lunches for a long time, has now stopped because there is a shortage of money. And it's not that I can't go out to buy any food, or that I haven't got any food. I just thought it would be nice if young people brought some food and it would seem like Christmas. Well, they arrived, and I asked them to sit down and said that I had this important question to ask them. But they seemed very keen to go through initial pleasantries, where before we get down to the main business, we talk about this and about that. So we talked about gypsies, about those who have no job, about the Olympics, about the weather. People in Britain always talk about the weather. Just 3 of them had come in the one car, one nephew because the others live overseas, and 2 nieces, my favourite nieces. I call them both my favourite nieces, which is a bit silly, but it makes me smile. So, 3 of them to talk to, and I asked them my question. And my question was this: I am dying. I'm told I have not long to live, and therefore I want to think of the future, and that includes your futures. I haven't got a lot of money. I have perhaps £30,000 for each of you. But my question is, how much would it take drastically to improve your lives? And what would you do with the money? What would you spend it on? I suppose drastic was a silly word to use because it means one thing to one person and one thing to another. But anyway, that's what I asked. And it was my nephew who spoke first. He said, "Unc," short for uncle, young people's talk. "Unc," he said, "that's not enough to enable me to give up my job and retire in luxury." Always one with his feet on the ground, doing spreadsheets, that sort of thing. But he said, "What I would like is to start a campsite in some really nice woodland with lots of trees, and I would play with the children and my family, and it would be a campsite where I would make the rules." I felt I should be making notes, making rules, campsite, woodland. Well, £30,000 might buy you some woodland. For example, in Wales. In Oxford, it certainly would not. The nearest to it would be woodland at a place called Clifton Heath, which is between Newnham Courtney and Clifton Hampden, both just outside Oxford to the south. This is to the east of Hampden, just off the B4015. Currently on sale for £6 million.